Mortgage rates just slipped under 6%. New Jersey's market didn't flinch. It accelerated. Here's where we are. It's late winter into early spring of 2026, and the Garden State's housing ledger is crowded with contradictions. Statewide, there were 13,201 active listings in February, up 11.39% from a year earlier, but down 2.93% from January. New listings hit 6,476 in that month. The statewide median listing price landed at $529,000 in February, 2.93% lower than a year ago, yet 2.02% higher than January. Properties sat about 45 days on market before going under contract. At the same time, borrowing costs retreated. A 30-year fixed hovered between 5.98 and 6.11% in February, briefly dipping below the 6% threshold for the first time in over 3 years. 15-year fixed rates ranged from 5.35 to 5.50%. That matters in a state where, in 2025, the median sales price across all property types rose 5.4% to $525,000. It matters in a place where property taxes and home values are among the highest in the nation. And it matters because buyers aren't alone in waiting for oxygen. Sellers are too. Zoom out to the national backdrop. February marked the 28th straight month of inventory growth across the country, up 7.9% year over year. But that growth has been slowing for 9 months in a row, and overall inventory remains 16.8% lower than before the pandemic. Nationwide, new listings increased 2.4% year over year and 10% month over month in February. Typical time on market for those homes was about 70 days, 4 days slower than last year, the 23rd consecutive month that homes took longer to sell on a year-over-year basis. The national median listing price was $403,450, down 2.1% year-over-year, and 15.5% of listings cut their asking price. The causal chain begins with rates and runs straight through supply. Across New Jersey, one simple number-shaped behavior in 2025, the average mortgage rate already locked in by homeowners sits around 4%. When market rates rose as high as 7.8%, many owners who wanted to move decided not to. They chose to protect their 4% payment rather than trade it for something nearly twice as costly. That lock-in throttled the flow of listings. Now, with 30-year mortgages cresting near 6%, and at moments dipping under, that lock is loosening, one key turn at a time. But rates alone aren't the whole story. New Jersey builds slowly. Home rule and exclusionary zoning acts like a dense thicket around development. A high regulatory environment layers costs and stretches timelines, discouraging investment. High property taxes loom over pro formas and household budgets alike. And when new homes finally rise, too often they're at the top of the market. Luxury dwellings rather than the entry-level or moderate-price inventory that would relieve the state's affordability pressure. The result is a simple imbalance: more households who want to buy than homes that fit their price point. Meanwhile, proximity matters again. Forecasts point to the outskirts of New York City, Long Island, the Hudson Valley, northern New Jersey, and Fairfield County, growing hotter this year as commuters return to offices. Not all booming regions are rising together. Some Zoom towns are cooling, and several Sunbelt markets that saw dramatic growth are now bogged down by insurance costs and natural disaster risk. That divergence reshapes the map of demand, and it tilts momentum back toward commuter belts like Bergen, Morris, Essex, and Hudson counties. On the ground in North Jersey, in February, the story sharpens by county and by street. New listings climbed year over year in just one of the 6 counties that form the region's spine. Morris County posted 340 new listings, up 13.33% from last February. Everywhere else, new supply fell. Bergen County logged 536 new listings, 9.46% fewer than a year ago. Passaic registered 194, down 3.96%. Essex saw 342, off 16.99%. Sussex came in at 144, flat year over year. Hudson counted 358, down 4.79%. Month to month, from January to February, the picture shuffled again. Morris jumped 18.06%, and Essex rose 5.56%. Bergen drifted lower by 0.74%. Passaic slid 16.38%. Sussex eased 7.69%, and Hudson declined 7.73%. These small surges and retreats reflect how sensitive sellers are to each weekly jiggle in rates. Pricing signals cut in multiple directions. Compared with last year, the median listing price rose in 3 North Jersey counties and fell in 3. Passaic climbed 13.58% to $566,750. Sussex increased 6.26% to $425,000. Morris edged up 0.85% to $683,225. Meanwhile, Bergen dipped 0.89% to $792,750. Essex slipped 0.67% to $546,225. Hudson dropped 2.53% to $597,000. From January to February, short-term price movements suggested early spring normalization. Bergen's median listing price rose 2.03%. Passaic added 3.23%. Morris gained 1.22%. Sussex jumped 6.26%. Essex edged down 0.67%, and Hudson decreased 0.33%. Signals suggest sellers are testing the market with slightly higher asks where demand feels deepest and retreating by inches where listings linger. Days on market tracked the seasonal thaw. In February, homes in Bergen took about 38 days to sell, up 15.38% from last year, but 28.57% faster than in January. Passaic listings sat 35 days, 13.11% longer year over year, but 25% quicker than a month prior. Morris clocked 31 days flat year over year, yet improved 35.11% from January. Essex took 38 days, 13.64% longer than last February, and 27.88% faster than January. Sussex averaged 50 days, a touch faster than a year ago by 1%, and 27.21% quicker than in January. Hudson shaved time to 41 days, just 0.61% faster year over year, and 30.51% quicker than a month earlier. The short version, winter slowed everything, but February started to unfreeze. Price cuts add another layer. In February, Bergen tallied 94 reductions, 6% fewer than last year, and 12.96% fewer than January. Morris notched 40, down 23.08% year over year, and 16.67% from last month. Sussex recorded 34, a 29.17% yearly drop, and 15% less than January. In contrast, Passaic posted 48 reductions, up 50% year over year, and up 71.43% month over month. Essex had 74, 8.82% higher than last year, and 15.63% higher than January. Hudson came in with 106 reductions, 3.92% higher year over year, and 20.45% above January. Statewide, 2,210 listings reduced price in February, up 8.76% from a year earlier, and up 19.59% from January. Pressure is building at the margins. Some sellers are blinking first. Strikingly, statewide prices and local values tell different stories because they serve different buyers. In January 2026, the typical home value in deals stood at $4,212,865, a one-year increase of $412,280, 10.8% higher. Alpine's typical value reached $2,955,120, up $321,208 in a year, 12.2%. Seagirt climbed to $2,304,930, up $211,955, 10.1%. Bay Head rose to $2,362,140, $175, with a $240,903 jump, 11.4%. Saddle River hit $2,210,648, a $226,124 increase, 11.4%. Franklin Lakes reached $1,517,266, up $157,124, 11.6%. Demarest shot to $1,411,184, gaining $180,632, 14.7%. Summit moved to $1,299,787, an increase of $117,579, 9.9%. Spring Lake advanced to $1,355,039, up $130,201, 10.6%. Short Hills landed at $2,258,188, up $138,052, 6.5%. Up north, towns like Glen Rock at $1,011,530 grew by $70,541, 7.5% in a year. Ridgewood at $1,161,944 gained $82,214, 7.6%. Wyckoff at $1,091,109 increased $85,284, 8.5%. South Orange at $1,036,999 added $77,944, 8.1%. Westfield at $1,226,968 rose $77,572, 6.7%. Montclair at $1,102,512 climbed $68,186, 6.6%. Essex Fells at $1,409,218 was up $114,603, 8.9%. Haworth at $1,139,860 gained $160,944, 10.4%. Englewood Cliffs at $1,690,452 advanced $133,234, 8.6%. These aren't isolated spikes. They're a pattern scattered across commuter rail lines, tree-lined streets, and shorefront avenues. Follow the money to the coastline, and it becomes clearer why top-tier demand is rewriting the map. In 2025, statewide sales of homes priced above $2.50 million were up 20%. The most expensive sales ranged from $12.10 million to $25 million that year, compared with a range of $10.30 million to $16.70 the year before. 4 of the 5 priciest transactions took place at the Jersey Shore. Manhattan buyers, once loyal to the Hamptons, are choosing Monmouth, Ocean, and Cape May counties, often for proximity to New York City and Philadelphia, often for pristine beaches and old boardwalk charm, and often for another reason: price resiliency. When the broader market crashed in 2008, many shore prices held firmer than expected. Limited inventory and strong buyer demand still grant these enclaves a kind of immunity other zip codes envy. A short vignette brings the scale into focus. On January 21, 2025, an 8,500 square foot home in Spring Lake sold for $25 million, matching its list price. It carried 26 rooms, 9 bedrooms, 8 full and 2 half bathrooms, and custom millwork that replicated a monumental staircase from an earlier structure. Panoramic ocean views unfurled from 3 floors. An elevator, white oak floors, a chef's kitchen with a 10-burner range and 4 ovens, a wine cellar, and even a golf simulator room completed the picture. Outside, a wraparound porch and a saltwater pool overlooked the Atlantic. The 0.82-acre lot held a 2-bedroom guest house with 2.5 baths. 8 months later, on September 9th, another masterpiece, Chateau de la Roche in Alpine, traded for $17,700,000 against a list price of $22,400,000 $490,000. The home spanned 25,700 square feet with 7 bedrooms, 9 full and 3 half bathrooms, a 15-seat theater, a billiards room, 2 bars, a wine cellar, hot and cold indoor plunge pools, a sauna, and a conservatory. It sat on 2 acres in New Jersey's most expensive zip code, about a 30-minute drive from Manhattan. At the shore, in Avalon's Fingers section, a new bayfront home closed at $13,197,000 on September 15th, carrying 7 bedrooms, 7 full and 2 half baths across 6,400 square feet, plus more than 1,000 square feet of covered decks, a saltwater pool, a sunken fire pit lounge, and a private dock. On November 10th, a custom 9,000 square foot home with 12 bedrooms and 8.5 baths sold for $12,138,090, featuring an elevator, multiple laundry areas, retractable awnings, and dual outdoor showers, with views stretching toward the Manteloking Bridge. Perhaps the most telling sale came earlier, on March 24th, a $14,600,000 purchase of a 1970s oceanfront home in Monmouth County's Crescent Park, not for the house itself, but for the land. The lot measured 125 feet by 250 feet, one of the widest oceanfront parcels in the county. The likely future, a 10,000 square foot Cedar Shake seashore colonial with a porch, the kind that now dots the ocean line. These deals sketch the top of the pyramid. The wider base looks different. Affordability in New Jersey is strained. There aren't enough affordable homes to rent or to purchase. Many households find there is no rational relationship between what they earn and what a starter home costs. Some buyers with less than pristine credit face higher cost loans. They may open with a payment they can handle, only to see it rise to a level that risks foreclosure. The pressure shows in small ways: more price cuts in some counties, longer days on market year over year, buyers pivoting between neighborhoods or property types. It also shows in bigger ways: households holding on to 4% mortgages, builders hesitating under regulatory weight, and a construction pipeline skewed toward high-end projects that do not ease the affordability gap. Where supply is slow to form, micro-markets become king. In Bergen County, the median listing price remains just under $800,000, and new listings fell year over year in February. In Passaic County, median listing prices rose to $566,750, up more than 13% in a year, even as new listings fell 3.96%. Morris County, often a bellwether, saw both more new listings, up 13.33%, and a slightly higher median listing price at $683,225, up 0.85% from a year prior, with days on market steady at 31. Essex County's median listing price of $546,225 slid compared with last year, even as days on market lengthened to 38. Sussex County, with a median listing price at $425,000, posted a 6% plus annual increase, and its days on market at 50 barely budged year over year. Hudson County's median listing price of $597,000 drifted lower compared with last year, even as its new listings dropped 4.79% year over year to 358. Layer in typical home value snapshots across towns, and the gradients get steeper. Alpine's typical value, near $3 million, jumped more than $300,000 in a single year. Deal's typical value above $4 million shot up by more than $400,000. Along the shore, Seagirt, Bayhead, and Manteloking each saw one-year increases of roughly $200,000 or more. Inland, Demarest, Franklin Lakes, and Saddle River posted double-digit percentage gains as well, while places like South Orange, Summit, and Westfield added high 5 or low 6 figures. Even at the lower end of the fastest-growing list, towns like Oradell and River Edge saw year-over-year increases around $60,000 to $70,000. What ties these disparate strands together? The commuter belt is waking up as rates slip and as office commutes reassert themselves. Northern New Jersey, with direct lines into New York City, is poised to benefit from that shift. Forecasts expect a stronger spring home buying season in 2026, with mortgage rates around 6.3% this spring, compared with 6.8% last spring. That half point matters, not just psychologically, but in monthly dollars. It invites some of the on-the-fence buyers back into the market. But expect a modest ramp, not a rocket. Sales could increase only slightly because many house hunters are still priced out or limited by a stalled labor market. One forecast calls for the median United States home sale price to rise just 1% year over year in 2026, a more marginal increase than in recent years. On the rental side, the squeeze may tighten. Rents are projected to rise roughly 2 to 3% year over year by the end of 2026, as apartment construction, which surged in 2021 and 2022, slows. That change intersects with New Jersey's supply problem. When fewer apartments are built and fewer starter homes are available, renters face rising costs without an easy exit to ownership. It also intersects with the state's broader economic question: how to maintain a healthy economy while tackling the most significant long-term challenge here, affordability. Policy won't move as quickly as a 30-year rate quote, but it frames the medium-term path. The state's new leadership confronts a basic trade-off: raise taxes to cover increased costs and disappoint residents and businesses, or cut programs and disappoint those who rely on them. Affordability was a key issue in the last election, and the shortage of affordable housing was top of mind for voters. Some advocates push for a community reinvestment law, similar to the Federal Community Reinvestment Act, to require banks that do business here to invest equitably in the places where they profit, including in affordable housing development. Others focus on streamlining the home development process to shorten timelines and reduce costs, arguing that a slow, inefficient process ends up costing everyone more. Builders emphasize that home rule and exclusionary zoning cap what can be built and where, while a high regulatory environment extends calendars and inflates budgets, reducing the investor appetite that would otherwise finance much-needed supply. Even with those constraints, many still want to live in New Jersey because of where it sits. Between Philadelphia and New York, with single-family suburbs, adult communities, and condo markets that remain active, the pull is geographic and cultural. In the short term, uncertainty in Washington has not dented the state's housing momentum. Tariffs, policies, and political unpredictability tend to show up faster in stock tickers than on for-sale signs. Buyers who were quiet over the last couple of years are looking again as interest rates come down a bit. On the street, what does all of this mean? If you're shopping in Bergen County and see a median listing price of $792,750 in February, recognize that the county's days on market sped up month over month but slowed year over year. If you're in Passaic, a 13.58% annual jump to $566,750 suggests you're competing with more aggressive bids, even though more sellers there cut prices in February compared with both last year and last month. In Morris, more new listings and a stable 31 days on market point to slightly improved selection, at least compared with neighboring counties. In Essex, a slight dip in prices and longer days on market year over year may give you a touch more leverage, though the month-over-month acceleration suggests spring urgency is arriving. In Sussex, a 6% plus price climb to $425,000 and fewer price cuts indicate resilient demand at that lower price tier. In Hudson, the mix is complex. Fewer new listings year over year, slightly cheaper headline prices, and more price reductions month over month. If you're selling, February's 210 price reductions statewide, 8.76% more than last year, and 19.59% more than January, are a reminder to price precisely. Overreach invites a concession later. If you're holding a 4% mortgage and dreaming of a new kitchen across town, recognize that a 30-year rate between 5.98 and 6.11% in February is meaningfully different than the 7.8 peak that stopped moves in their tracks. Trade-offs have shifted. If you're building, the market is telling you two things at once: luxury still flies, and the middle is starving. The upper market's momentum has its own gravitational pull. In 2025, the top sale at $25 million in Spring Lake wasn't just a number. It was a statement about where affluent households want to plant their summers and their capital. The $17,700,000 sale in Alpine underscored that northern New Jersey's prestige corridors stay global in their reach. The $13,197,000 new construction in Avalon's Fingers signaled that buyers will pay premier prices for design-forward, amenity-rich homes that maximize water access. The $12,138,090 closing with views to the Mantoloking Bridge revealed that, in the right pocket, micro-location commands millions. And the $14,600,000 teardown proved that land, especially a 125 by 250 oceanfront lot in Crescent Park, can be worth more than the house you see today. Meanwhile, in commuter towns with rising typical home values, the numbers stitched their own narrative. Chatham's value reached $1,266,015, up $101,726 in a year, 8.7%. Westfield at $1,226,968 added $77,572, 6.7%. South Orange at $1,036,999 increased $77,944, 8.1%. Ridgewood at $1,161,944 grew $82,214, 7.6%. Ho-Ho Cuss at $1,237,421 gained $95,000, 8.3%. Closer to the Palisades, Englewood Cliffs at $1,690,452 rose $133,234, 8.6%, and Palisades Park at $961,033 advanced $74,981, 8.5%. On the Monmouth coast, Rumson at $2,126,098 was up $115,538, 5.7%, while Allenhurst at $2,218,522 surged $176,971, 8.7%, and Spring Lake's $1,355,039 stood $130,201 higher, 10.6%. Each of these data points is a microeconomy of schools, parks, train schedules, and cafe-lined main streets bidding against scarcity. There is a darker edge to this ascent. When the gap between what exists and what people can afford is described as astronomical, it is not hyperbole, it is a household budget. Subprime lending can wedge open the door, but at a cost: higher interest rates, payment resets, and the risk of foreclosure. If rents climb 2 to 3% by the end of this year, and the pool of affordable starter homes doesn't expand, those pressures don't resolve, they compound. The state's resilience is real. So is the pain of the family who qualifies on paper, but finds that even with down payment assistance, the homes they want sit just beyond reach. So what's next? Base case, the spring of 2026 runs hotter than last year, but it's not a return to the froth of 2021. Rates around 6.3% this spring, compared with 6.8% last spring, pull more buyers into weekend open houses. Sales increase, but only slightly, because many remain priced out or constrained by employment trends. Median United States home sale prices edge up about 1% for the year, matching a pattern of normalization rather than surge. In New Jersey, statewide median listing prices that sat at $529,000 in February will likely jostle within a tight band through the middle of the year, as sellers test higher numbers and buyers, now more active, demand value. Days on market continue to compress month over month into late spring across Bergen, Passaic, Morris, Essex, Sussex, and Hudson before expanding again with summer vacations. Inventory rises in fits and starts, Morris-style gains in some months, Essex-style bumps in others, with Bergen-like declines where sellers remain cautious. Two watch items demand attention over the next 6 to 9 months. First, affordability policy and permitting reform. Any steps that streamline approvals, recalibrate zoning, or reduce regulatory drag could tilt the supply curve. Even modest moves could influence investor sentiment and shift the mix of projects away from exclusively high-end builds. If nothing meaningful changes, expect the middle of the market to stay undersupplied, rents to drift up 2 to 3% by year's end, and buyers to keep competing over the same thin slice of attainable inventory. Second, the rate path. February's 30-year fixed range between 5.98 and 6.11% reopened the field. If rates hold near 6.3% this spring, down from 6.8% a year ago, demand in northern New Jersey should strengthen, especially in commuter corridors. If rates rise meaningfully, the lock-in effect reasserts itself. If they fall further, more 4% mortgage holders will unfreeze. A bonus watch, the luxury tide. Sales above $2.50 million rose 20% last year, with 4 of the 5 top deals at the shore. If Manhattan buyers continue redirecting second home dollars from the Hamptons to Spring Lake Avalon and 7 Mile Island, expect more record-looking numbers, 8-figure closings, wide lot teardowns purchased for land alone, and inventory released only in slivers. That doesn't fix affordability, but it will shape comps and tax rolls in zip codes where the top 5% set the tone for the rest. In the end, New Jersey's housing market is a mosaic of signals. 13,201 active listings in February, 6,476 of them newly listed. A median listing price of $529,000, 2,210 price reductions, nudging some sellers back to reality. Days on market drifting down from January's freeze in every North Jersey county. A statewide median sales price last year of $525,000, 30-year rates breathing through 6%, and towns like Deal, Alpine, and Seagirt posting 6-figure annual value gains. The causal chain runs like this. Rates rose, owners stayed, supply tightened. Rates are easing, owners are stirring, supply is lurching back. The commuter belt is warming, the luxury coast is scorching, and the middle is still squeezed. The choices made by households, builders, lenders, and lawmakers over the next 9 months will decide whether 2026 is simply steadier or genuinely more affordable. If you want more cinematic, data-anchored breakdowns of housing's moving parts, subscribe and stay with us.